enthusiasm. You know, the
Yes!
shop. I have this whole routine that I do. So you can interrupt me. I've done it so many times now. So I like to say that my job within these walls is to stand right there between those big bags of green coffee beans and your stomachs. Mm-hmm. So within these walls, I roast, grind, pack, sell, make, explain, drink, inhale, smell of, and dream about coffee. Mm-hmm. And this here is traditional Bosnian coffee, which looks exactly like traditional Turkish, Greek, Israeli, Lebanese, Jordanian, Syrian, Palestinian. You get it. Many coffees around the world look just like this. But we can thank the Ottoman Empire for that, because they sort of took it and they brought it to us. But wherever else they went, they took the coffee with them. And as they sort of dropped it, I like to think that local people there took the coffee and then added some things to it, just like we did. And I've traveled to Turkey and Greece, and I've had their coffee, and I can sort of talk for a long, long time about what's different with their coffee to our coffee, although it may seem like shades of the same thing, which in fact it is in a way. So if I can sort of compress everything I know about traditional Bosnian coffee in one sentence that will help you understand what it is, the sentence of my choice would be: traditional Bosnian coffee is a ritual of time. We like our coffee, but we love the time we get to spend with it. So much that coffee to go is not a thing here. You will walk the streets of Mostar, but you will not see local people going around with cups in their hands.
So if we want to look like a tourist,
Coffee to go is one of the things.
Okay.
Yeah. So unlike, coffee today is a byproduct of you walking in the street, working on your laptop, driving a car, this and that. For us, coffee is a reason not to do any of those things. It's an excuse to unplug your brain and leave your worries for about 10, 15, 20 minutes, depends on how long you like it, and sort of just enjoy the moment. That's why I refer to it as a ritual, because it requires that separation from your reality. Sort of you just focus on coffee. Your problems, they're not going to run away. I mean, it would be cool if they did, but they're not. And I can't take them. I've got my own, So they're just going to wait for you. And we should, I think, remember this more often, that our problems will wait for us and not stress too much about it. It will be there tomorrow or later or whatever, right? So when I make this coffee, I put the coffee grounds in the bottom of this pot. In a separate pot over there, I boil the water. When the water is boiling, I pour it on top of the coffee grounds. And as the steam and everything else that's, hot come inside, they sort of lift the coffee powder to the top of the pot, which, if you kind of shake it about, you can see that it's a little bit, muddy and dark, and it doesn't really look appetizing. It sort of actually looks really muddy. And now our job is to make sure that all the grounds go down, right? So you can drink your coffee, not eat your coffee, which is one of the differences between the Turkish Greek and ours, right? So in order to do that, I'm going to show you what my grandma showed me. Now, a little bit of a philosophical sort of matter there is that you don't question when your parents teach you something. You don't ask why is it the way it is. You just sort of learn it that way, and you kind of continue living, right? And that's exactly how
that one asked why.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't ask why do we do this way. Your mom tells you do it this way, and then you kind of end up doing it for 40 years, 50 years of your life, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so my grandmother showed me what I'm about to show you, but as I said before, I never questioned her. I never questioned why are the things they are. I sort of realized them when I got the shop, because I started working with coffee more and more. So the first thing my grandma would say, you take a clean spoon, clean glass with clean cold water inside, you take a couple of spoons of cold water and you place them on the top. Now, do you guys know why?
You told us not to ask why.
Nope.
That's if you're a child.
Okay.
To make the stuff go to the bottom?
But do you know how?
I don't know.
It's actually physics, science. Cold water is a lot heavier than hot water. So you pour some cold water on top of the hot water, so it's going to drop. As it drops, creates suction on top, and it brings coffee grounds down with it. Quite simple. Grandma was much smarter than what we gave her credit for. I think she was not aware of it. Probably inherited knowledge from her side as well. Now with this spoon, we will never go inside and stir things about, because then everything sort of flies up, which kind of defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do here. So with the spoon, I just remain on the top of the coffee pot, and I separate the coffee grounds from the edges of the pot, like so. And when all the sides are free from the coffee grounds and all the dark bits end up being in the middle, I'm just gonna scoop them up and just sort of release like that. Again, science. Gravity pulling down on the coffee grounds through this wonderful coffee cream that starts appearing at the top, and this starts looking more and more like a cup of coffee with this wonderful golden brown, as stranglers would say, top of the cream, right? There you go, you got it.
Can you overdo this?
No, there is no such thing.
Okay.
Okay? Now, this next part is also very philosophical in a way. My grandma would say you take this cream and then you place it into your cup. Just the cream from the top. Now, this one, it took a while for me to realize why it is the way it is. Now, the thing is, I brought a whole set in front of you of a coffee, not a cup of coffee, not something that is ready to be consumed right away. It requires a certain amount of work from your side, right? And every work should have a reward. And in order to reward yourself, you're going to get that first intense sip of coffee that you're going to take. And first sips in life are quite special, but we tend not to remember them. If I ask you what was the first time you tried orange juice, or first time you tried milk, or even beer, you probably don't remember those moments. But they are a milestone in your life. It's the first time you've tried something. And when that first sort of sip of whatever you're taking goes away, it never comes back. So you can never try for the first time something again, right? That is why we take this cream when we place it into your cup, because this cream has the property of that first sip. When it goes away, it never comes back. As you can see, it's only dark coffee left here. I mean, you can order another coffee, but then again, you get a different story. And there you are. Coffee has been served. You have some fresh, clean water which you can use to cleanse your palate before, during, or after your coffee experience. You have some Turkish Delight, rose petal flavored, because it's custom to have something sweet with your coffee. In this pot, there's a second time for you to pour. So there's like 2 cups in there. Obviously, the coffee grounds are still in the pot. So in order not to get the grounds into your cup and then into your mouth, what you should do is, as you're pouring out the second cup, you should observe the stream of coffee that comes out of the pot into the cup. The stream should be brown but transparent. The moment it becomes dark or muddy, that's when you stop, because the coffee grounds start coming in. And as I say, my coffee has no milk, sugar, cinnamon, pumpkin spice, whatever they put in coffee these days. Is just pure black coffee, which I roast right here in this big machine, and I grind and I prepare and everything. So I would urge you to try just pure black, right? Because it's yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's bad. And can I have the sugar, please?
Over here.
Oh, okay. Now, I just told you not to have anything, but then again, part of the tradition is for me to explain to you how sugar works. And you are right, these are sugar cubes. And the thing is, in the past, people used to be poor here. Quite poor, that they did not have extra spoons in their house. So they would have a coffee spoon, one probably for everyone to go around. But not like sugar spoon and then this spoon and that spoon. It would be one spoon that you use. So you think of this sugar as a finger-friendly version of sugar. It's something that you can grab with your fingers and use. And my grandma, she would take one of these cubes, she would break it with her knuckle against her palm to make it smaller. And then she would take one cube, this piece of this sugar, and then dip. Well, it's actually not a real dip. It's less than a dip. It's a duh of a dip. So not like one of those kind of things, but more like a yeah.
Okay.
And just a tiny, tiny bit of sugar goes into the coffee, just like yeah. And then she would scrape on her tooth whatever got dipped in, the brown sugar, and then she would hold that on her tongue and then drink bitter coffee over it, so that the coffee melts the sugar in your mouth and you get that sweet and sort of bitter kind of overlapping at the same time. You can achieve this sort of similar effect by taking a bite of this Turkish Delight, that rhymes, and chew it a little bit and have some coffee over that. Kind of makes a similar experience, as long as you don't dip the Turkish Delight into the coffee, because then they both tend to change taste. Okay? So enjoy your ritual of time. This is the part where I would leave, but not today.
Good.
I don't have any sort of testimony ready for you. I just have what I have in my brain. So I would really like if you would just sort of go ahead and ask me questions. I think that would be more interesting for you, right? And then we'll see how that goes, right?
Maybe the first
for it.
question is, you know, we've done some education about the different religious divisions, and how for quite a while in Bosnia, those groups lived pretty harmoniously.
Oh, yeah.
And intermarried.
Decades and decades.
Yeah, all
And not
that.
just decades, like centuries, because if you start going, the more you dig in history, the more you realize we've all the parties involved here
Yeah.
have been here since
Right.
the beginning of
And
time.
they're almost all
right?
Slavs.
Yeah, and we've all sort of lived together and mixed and, you know, shared space and everything else.
Why did those divisions suddenly become so important?
Well, I like to believe that it always is sort of, there's a necessity in us as humans to have us versus them somehow, because we are having trouble a lot of the time accepting that we are the cause of the problems we're experiencing. So, like I've seen in, let's say, the Trump's government, when he was there, it was directly pointing fingers at Mexico, saying, we're going to build a wall, they're the ones stealing our job, they're, you know, it's always somebody else.
Yeah. Your
Fault.
life sucks because of them.
Exactly. It's no, my life sucks because of
Right.
them.
Yeah.
Because if your life sucks because of them, I don't care.
Right.
Because
But
when it
politicians
comes to my
are
life,
telling you,
then
yeah.
I care, right? Because then my life sucks.
Right.
Anyway, if you're talking about sort of religious sort of division here, you can start from whenever, because there was always a certain layer that was on top of the other layer.
Right.
And as long as there's a layer that's bigger than the one under, you're gonna have them as taking, you know, rule over us, and you're gonna have them who are orchestrating for 500 years. You could say that the Muslim religion was the dominant one because they're the ones that had it more easy than the Christian religion or Orthodox Christianity or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a struggle, and this struggle is not just Balkan struggle; it's world struggle, right? And it happens everywhere. It happens on every continent. It happens in pretty much any country, right?
Yeah.
So you were 7 when it started. 7?
No, I was born in 1988, so it started in 91. I was 3, and then it ended in 95.
Okay.
That means I was 7 when it stopped.
Okay.
So,
So
tell us
as
some
a
of your memories. Oh, go ahead.
oh, as a kid, like what are your first memories that something was wrong?
Well, there are no first memories that something was wrong. They're just memories of me being there, because that's about when I became a conscious sort of child. Any memories that I have before the war, I sort of have them, but they're out of context. I remember like a favorite toy. I remember a stroll in the park or whatever, jumping on pile of leaves, or you know, something that's completely trivial. And then sort of my strongest memories as from my childhood are the war memories. And it was quite normal, I would say, for me, because my memories start there, and you don't realize what's going on. You don't know that, you know, something is happening, but you know that, you know, kind of like, okay, we're not, you know, my mom is way more like concerned about something than she maybe should be, or something. You get these little hints, and you know, from all over the place, like these little fragments that something is going on, and of course shelling and, you know,